Well, Dave, here we are, episode 29 of Rise Ascent, and our first look at this young lady since Rise 1 Ignite.
It's Aria Blake.
She is a spoiled.
Dear God. That music. So it's a nice day in Orlando, right? Well, you know, it's a pretty bad night to be spoiled brat. Because Rise Wrestling thought it would be a cool, funny joke to try and make me a local animal control agent. Do I look like I know a lot about feral creatures? Yes? No, I'm not. And you know what? That's why I decided I'm still going to take care of my little pet problem. I just, hired a little bit of muscle.
Well, apparently Aria Blake is not going one-on-one with Regina Honey Badger as expected.
Hired some muscle.
Oh, Dave, this music is very familiar to Rise fans. We've seen her more than once from Rise 7 preliminaries to episodes of Ascent. It appears some very literal muscle has been hired.
Jenna Van Muscles.
Now, Dave, we haven't quite known Jenna Van Muscles a year, but by proxy, it feels like we've known her forever. Some people we are very familiar with, responsible for the training and the development in the early career of Jenna Van Muscles, namely the Radiant Rain and one Mercedes Martinez.
A very imposing figure and has the knowledge handed down by two veterans of the women's professional wrestling scene for over a decade.
Now, Dave, this may be your first look, because I don't know if you've seen Rise Ascent from Pittsburgh, our first several episodes. One of my personal favorite discoveries we would not have known had we not done a seminar in Pittsburgh. It's Badger time. The last time we saw her was Rise Ascent Episode 6, where she took on Jinx from Pittsburgh. And Dave, what are your thoughts feasting your eyes for the first time upon Regina Honey Badger?
A very unique competitor.
Regina Badger made a great impression in the seminar in Pittsburgh, not just on Rise officials who were on hand, but that was our seminar with Impact Wrestling, and we had folks like Gail Kim, Sanjay Dutt, Scott Demore, and she was very memorable. And if this is maybe one of your first episodes of Ascent, or you're a new subscriber here to RiseAscent.com, Regina is unlike anything else you're probably going to see out there on the indie wrestling scene.
Yeah, normally if you're a professional wrestler and you thought that you had one opponent going into a match and then it changes on a moment's notice and you're facing somebody completely different, you wonder how it might throw off strategy, pre-planning of how you're going to handle your opponent. But I don't know, is there a whole lot of planning going on with Regina Honey Badger?
I'm pretty sure Regina Honey Badger's plan sounds something like this. I'm a goddamn badger.
And she's taking on a very imposing opponent, a very different competitor in comparison to Aria Blake if she would have been inside that ring as her opponent tonight.
Talk about a difference in physical statures. If you're preparing for your game for somebody of a smaller frame like an Aria Blake, and if you prepared your game for that, now you're against Jenna Van Muscles.
Something tells me not a whole lot of scientific strategy and planning goes into Regina Honey Badger matches. She probably was going to do the exact same thing regardless of who her opponent was tonight. Right now, Jenna just driving her into the turnbuckle to free herself from her grasp.
I sometimes will say things on commentary like kick, scratch, and claw as sort of a metaphor, if you will.
But it's literal this time.
In the case of Regina Honey Badger, just brute force, kick, scratch, throw the science out the window. We have seen her use variants of the stunner to finish off opponents, but I'm reminded of an old trading card of Rowdy Roddy Piper when his finishing hold would always be listed as anything that comes to mind.
That probably does describe Regina.
Aria Blake doesn't seem to be overtly happy about how things, well, maybe the tide has turned here.
Now she's happy. One big clothesline probably puts a smile on her face, I'm sure.
How was it she'd worded it? She hired Muscle for her pest problem?
Pest problem, yes.
You know, here in the Orlando market, pests, you think of things like lizards, maybe cockroaches or some insects. Not a honey badger.
No.
Right now, honey badger may be rough and tumble, but she can't do a whole lot with that when she's got the full force of Jenna Van Muscles just crushing into her in the corner. And now Aria Blake is a smile ear to ear.
Badger into the corner. Nobody home for Jenna Van Muscles. And a back rake just digging those claws into the flesh of her opponent.
Shoulder to the solar plexus takes the wind out of Jenna Van Muscles. Now, a little bit of trivia we talked about when Aria came out here. Aria Blake was in technically the first one-on-one match in Rise after the preliminaries and the hashtag FP0R Battle Royal. Aria Blake fell and lost to Dust in the very first one-on-one Rise match at Rise 1 Ignite. And falling victim to some tearing flesh is Jenna Van Muscles.
Badger with the cover, but only gets a near fall.
Aria doesn't seem to be too bothered by this pest problem. You know, I'm starting to wonder if this is on the up and up. Is there really a condition? She doesn't seem to be overly concerned about a win or a loss here, but who should be concerned is Regina Badger, who I'm pretty sure isn't used to being just ragdolled with the fall-away slam.
Great show of strength right there by Jenna, launching her overhead. Doing some push-ups.
A mid-match workout, always good. And, you know, two fitness buffs. We've got your more power lifter base and Jenna Van Muscles. And if you follow Aria Blake on social media, she works out about every 10 seconds.
Show me your muscle. Get away.
A display of muscles, and right now, Aria seems more concerned with the boat of the show than the win of the match.
Yes. Regina Honey Badger staying on her feet, gets a roll-up here. And she got the 3 count. What? Just that quickly.
And a difference of opinion or a difference in the bodybuilding and the workout styles, it definitely, call it a miscommunication, but definitely the dialogue between Aria Blake and Jenna Van Muscles played a factor into the end of this one, and a victory for Regina Honey Badger going to her match with Thunder Kitty at Rise Legendary March 29th. And speaking of Legendary, the Guardians of Rise are on the line as the Killer Death Machines challenge Paradise Lost.